Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So, today it is Thanksgiving here in the US, and I know our friends north of the border in Canada has already celebrated Thanksgiving a couple of weeks ago, so today is just a normal day for them. But in honor of Thanksgiving here in the US, I am going to be doing something that I think I'm going to do annually, and that this is going to be a video I'll do for every Thanksgiving from now on, which is look at what every MLS team should be thankful on this Thanksgiving. And I believe Andrew Wiebe has done this kind of article on the league website, and some of the thing that you see that I put is going to be very similar to his article, but this is just my own list, and that I basically kind of put what I think every team should be thankful in terms of this Thanksgiving. And we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference. And yes, we are going to include all the teams, including the ones that's about to come to the league this upcoming season, which is Inter Miami and Nashville. But we start off with Atlanta, and we start with a bit of an alphabetical order. So Atlanta obviously is always going to be first in the alphabetical order chart. But Atlanta should be thankful this Thanksgiving because they won 2 trophies in a year. Listen, I know they were hoping that they were probably going to win the ultimate prize, which is MLS Cup, and try to repeat as champion. But at the end of the day, they should be thankful the fact that they won 2 trophies and that they won the US Open Cup and Campeones Cup by beating Club America in that game. And that's something that not a lot of team in the league has done, and that is something that is very impressive to able to win a double in a single year, especially the fact that this team was under new coaching of Frank de Boer, and there was a lot of speculation of whether or not if he is going to do the same thing that Tata Martino brought to this team, and the fact that there was some kind of new players that is coming into this team. So there was a lot of question about that, but they still won 2 trophies in a single year. The Chicago Fire, what they should be thankful is that they have a new ownership and a new era, and that they're moving back to downtown Chicago and moving back to Soldier Field. So, yeah, I mean, Fire fans are probably very excited about this new era. Obviously, I know a lot of Fire fans and a lot of fans in MLS have been ridiculing in terms of the logo that they just put out as their rebrand, but let's try not to think about that and just be thankful the fact that they're under a new ownership, and that, you know, maybe this ownership will be a little bit more aggressive in terms of the spending money, and that they can bring this team back to its glory days early in their franchise history. FC Cincinnati, what they should be thankful is that there's always a reset button. So what that means is they can obviously start all over again in this upcoming season. I mean, it's not just that's the beauty of MLS, but that's kind of the beauty of sports. I mean, anytime when you have a bad season and, you know, you're coming into this new season and you're in the off-season period, I think a lot of GMs and owner need to realize that there's always a reset button, and that there's always just forget about what happened in that bad season in the previous year and focus how to make it better and learn from your mistake from the previous season. So, you know, for FC Cincinnati, they certainly are trying to, I hope they're trying to think like that, and that, you know, they'll just have to forget what happened last season and that disastrous year where they were one of the worst team, or actually not one of the worst team, but the worst team in the Eastern Conference, and let's see how they're going to do this year. Columbus, they're thankful because they're going to get a new stadium in the upcoming years, and that the rebuild might be over before it even started. I mean, this is probably one of the quickest rebuild that Columbus have gone through, because, you know, when I look at this roster, I really like this roster, and I like the fact that they add in Darlington Nagbe during the off season, and that we know Caleb Porter does get the best off of Darlington Nagbe, so I think he could be as just as a decent player as he was when he was with the Timbers a couple of years ago. But overall, I think the crew should be competing for playoffs this upcoming season, because when you look at the roster, it definitely does. They do have a very decent roster that I think should be able to be competing for the playoffs. For DC United, they should be thankful because they have seen the Wayne Rooney era. So, you know, a lot of people were worried the fact that, you know, when Wayne Rooney does leave this team, it's going to be kind of a very rocky kind of path. But, you know, he kind of leave in a very kind of not as awkward and rocky path as many people would have thought it, and that he kind of announced that he was going to be leaving at the end of the year in the middle of the season, and obviously the team realized that and they tried their best to give him one last hurrah, which unfortunately didn't happen, but still, at least that transition in terms of knowing the fact that, hey, it was a great honor to see one of the best players to ever play this game in the world to be join our team and score a couple of goals and had some big moments in our franchise history, and that we definitely should be very thankful that he of course chose us and all the good things that he has brought into our franchise. Montreal. So what they should be thankful is that they won the Canadian Championship and they're going back to CCL. So I could have easily said that they should be thankful that Thierry Henry is their manager, but I still don't know if Thierry Henry going to Montreal, is this going to be a move where it's going to really turn the fortune of this team, or the fact that this is just a marketing thing? And from what I'm seeing, like, my judgment is this is kind of a marketing thing because of his past coaching career with Monaco, and that there was allegation that he did not really did a good job in terms of controlling the players in the locker room. So yeah, when you see that kind of coaches coming into a new coaching job, that does makes you a little bit nervous. But at least one thing that they should be thankful is that they did win a trophy, and that a lot of people forgot that they won the Canadian Championship. They beat TFC on penalty this year, and they're going back to CCL, which is a place that they have done very well in their past history, and is a team that's known to kind of really surprise a lot of people and think that you wouldn't think this Montreal team would go deep in CCL, and then you look at their past history and that they almost become the first MLS team to win CCL and almost beat Club America a couple of years ago in the CCL final. New England, what they should be thankful for is their head coach, also known as the American soccer godfather, known as Bruce Arena. I mean, he single-handedly turned this team around. Like, this team back in May, and right when they of course fire Brad Friedel, this team was on rock bottom, and that the fact that Bruce Arena completely turned this team around and had that incredible 11-game unbeaten streak, this is definitely an incredible year for the Revs, and I'm very interested to see what he's going to do in his second year with the team. And especially the Revs does have some very decent talent on their squad, and that, if he can do exactly what he did in the previous year, this team can potentially make the playoffs for the second year in a row. New York City FC, also known as NYCFC, they still have a core of their player, which is something that they should be thankful. I mean, despite the fact that this offseason, it's definitely been a rocky one because of the fact that Claudio Reyna, their sporting director, is no longer their sporting director, and that he decided to go to Austin as the sporting director. But the good thing is they still have pretty much all the players that they got from previous season, and they haven't really lost anybody. Now, there's been a lot of rumor that Keaton Parks is potentially going back to Benfica, and that NYCFC potentially is not going to sign him on a permanent deal, which will definitely be a bit of a loss, because Keaton Parks has been excellent for this NYCFC team ever since he come into this team back in July. But we shall see. We shall see how it's going to go, and that you also might need to be thankful the fact that they have probably the best scouting kind of network in the league, and that anytime when they decide to sign an unknown kind of quality of player from an unknown European league, they tend to do very well in this league. So, I think NYCFC fans should be very thankful for that, despite the fact that it's been kind of a little bit of a rocky time with some of those kind of rumors, and also knowing that their sporting director is going to be going to Austin instead of staying with them. The Red Bulls, they should be thankful because there is a new core of talent from their academy, and it's making into the starting 11. And we kind of saw a little bit of that last year, where we saw these kind of new core of talented player from the Red Bulls academy and play in the starting 11 for most of those games, and most of them definitely have the talent and definitely definitely could be as good as the old core that the Red Bulls have. So, I think Red Bulls fans should be very happy about that, and the fact that, despite the fact that they lost a lot of their core player, and they probably lost their two most important core player from a couple of years ago in Bradley Wright Phillips and Luis Robles, this new core of Red Bulls players from the academy should be able to kind of hold the torch that was handed by the old core and still continue to make this team to continue to be in the playoffs. Orlando City, they should be thankful that Oscar Pereira might be turning this franchise around, and that's if he does come to this team, because it still have not been confirmed that Oscar Pereira is the new manager of Orlando City, but there's a lot of sources that it could happen in these upcoming weeks, and that if it does happen, I think he could definitely turn this team around. And knowing what he did back in Dallas, I think he should be try to use the academy that Orlando City has. And this academy is certainly one of the most underrated academy, and that they do produce some very nice kind of talent, and that if Oscar Pereira can do that with this academy and can do what he did with Dallas, then I really think that Orlando City, for the first time in their franchise history, is going to make the playoffs in this upcoming year. The Union, what they should be thankful is they won a playoff game. And I know this sounds very kind of simple, but the thing is, they finally break their curse in terms of not winning a playoff game. They've been in the playoffs 3 times prior to this playoff run, and all those times they got knocked out in the first round. Well, they finally got over the hump this year by winning that playoff game. Although, one thing that I am a little bit nervous about the Union heading into this new season is that there's been a lot of roster turnover. I mean, a lot of their main core player from this season has been either shipped to another team or had their playoff contract denied. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Union is going to be this upcoming year with that roster turnover, and whether they can do exactly something similar to what they did last season. Toronto FC, they made an MLS Cup. I mean, anytime when you make MLS Cup, even if you didn't win it and you were the loser in that big game, you should definitely be very thankful the fact that you got to there. I mean, I think for TFC, I don't think a lot of people thought that this team would get to MLS Cup, and I even said in the beginning of last year, I thought this team was gonna go on a rebuild. Like, I thought this team was gonna really just try to go on a rebuild so that they can get back to what they were a couple of years ago. And it turns out this year they just got back where they were a couple of years ago, and were inches away from potentially winning MLS Cup for their second time in their franchise history. So yeah, TFC, they definitely, it feels like they're kind of something similar to what Columbus is, where they kind of had a rebuilding period, and before you know it, it's over. The rebuild is over. We are ready to compete, and that, this was just an incredible run that they had in the playoffs, and that nobody expected in the beginning of last season that they would be the team that represent the Eastern Conference in the MLS Cup. Inter Miami, now we get to the expansion team that's going to be coming into next season. They should be thankful because the squad that Beckham is building should be very promising. Like, I'm very interested to see how Inter Miami squad is going to look like. I mean, I've been hearing there's been so many rumors that eventually they're going to sign this DP that is a well-known kind of European star player, whether it's Cavani or Luis Suarez or anybody that is kind of well-known in the soccer world. I'm going to be very interested to see how they're going to do in the squad that they're going to be put up. I mean, a lot of people think that this team could be like the LAFC and Atlanta in the upcoming years, or in their expansion year. And if Beckham, of course, is able to build that squad that is going to be something similar to LAFC and Atlanta and had that same success, that could be the same case for Inter Miami. But move on to the next team, Nashville, who I think they should be thankful because they are happy to be in MLS. And I'm keep saying that I'm hoping Nashville this season, they're not going to be like FC Cincinnati and Minnesota, where they're just going to be happy to be MLS and that they'll figure out their problem in their upcoming years. And I hope they at least somewhat compete, but looking at the roster that they have and looking at the signings that they have made so far, yeah, this looks like a very FC Cincinnati expansion year team, and that don't be surprised if this team is going to suck throughout the year. And that I hope they prove me wrong, and that in this offseason, eventually they're going to sign an impacted player. But the thing that I look at with this team right now, it just looked like it's a very FC Cincinnati expansion year team. But that being said, let me now switch board and take a look at the Western Conference, and in terms of every Western Conference team should be thankful in today's Thanksgiving. So Colorado. The Rapids, they should be thankful this Thanksgiving because they had an incredible second half run. I mean, there is no denying that, as I said in the moving forward series, that this Rapids team, if only they did not start the season with an 11-game winless run, that this team would make the playoffs and that this team could be a very interesting team heading into the playoffs. But because of that 11-game winless run, and that despite the fact that they had a crazy second half run and playing some of the most beautiful soccer that I think the Rapids have ever played in their franchise history, they unfortunately fell short on the final day. But despite that disappointment, I'm also going to be interested to see what they're going to do next season, and how, with the off-season move that they have been made this off-season so far, this Rapids team could be a very dangerous team heading into next season. FC Dallas, see the Red Bulls. So, pretty much is the same reason that the Red Bulls should be thankful in terms of FC Dallas, is that they have a new batch of young talent from their academy, and we kind of saw a little bit of that in this prior season, and they're just going to get better heading into next season as these young batch of talent from the FC Dallas Academy is going to develop. For the Dynamo, they're going to be thankful because Tab Ramos decided to choose them as their next head coach and choose them as finally his jobs of potentially taking over an MLS team. And I'm definitely interested to see what Tab Ramos is going to do, and that whether he's going to do something that he did with FC Dallas a couple of years ago, which is try to look at the academy that the Dynamo have and try to promote some young players into this team. The Galaxy, they should be thankful. I was going to put DC United reason, but that means that it's basically just the Galaxy should be thankful because of Wayne Rooney, even though Rooney did not play for the Galaxy. But in many ways, it's kind of something similar to what DC United should be thankful that Wayne Rooney chose them and that he creates a magical moment for their club. It's the same thing with Zlatan and the Galaxy. Zlatan chose them. He even say you're welcome in the beginning of his time with the Galaxy, and he creates some incredible moment, and probably even create more incredible moment than Rooney does. I mean, if you do not include like postseason success, he pretty much creates some incredible regular season success of being the fact that he of course just completely owns LAFC for the first couple of games of El Tráfico, and he also had that incredible introduction to the league where he come off the bench, score an absolute incredible goal that I think that is going to be a goal that's going to be replayed a ton of time down the line, and the fact that he also scored a hat-trick in one of the El Tráfico game, and then he tends to always show up when the game is always the biggest and it's all the shining light is always the brightest in him. LAFC, so they should be thankful because not only they won the Supporters Shield, but this was probably arguably one of the best, if not the best team to ever play in MLS. Like, they absolutely smashed tons of records this season. I mean, they scored 85 goals this season, which I believe that's a new record in terms of the most goals that an MLS team had scored. And they also had, a plus 47 goal differential, which I'm definitely think that is a record. I mean, this team was just an incredible team to watch, and it feels like every single week you just wonder what exactly they're going to do and how many goals that they're going to put past their opponent instead of the fact that whether or not if they're going to lose or able to win this game. And let's also not forget Carlos Vela, his record-breaking year winning the MVP, and also broke Joseph Martinez mark of the most goal a player have scored in a single season with 34 goals this season. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible to see this LAFC team play, and that it will be very interesting heading into next season. Can they, of course, repeat that same kind of mark that they set in the previous season? Minnesota, they should be thankful because of the 3-year plan. And the 3-year plan actually worked out in the end where, after these first 2 years of brutal kind of performance where they gave up tons of goals and were kind of like finding themselves in the basement of the MLS standing. Their 3rd year, finally things work out, and a lot of that has to do with not just the fact that they really made progress throughout this 3-year plan, but they really hit the right buttons on a lot of signings last offseason and also get the right draft pick. But still, I just want to kind of mention the 3-year plan and that, it worked out in the end, even though it didn't take until the 2nd year where they finally started to make some big moves so that they can, of course, compete in the playoffs. The Timbers, they're going to be thankful because there's been rumors said that Diego Valeri might be staying with the Portland Timbers after all. So that has to be great news for Timbers fans, especially that Valeri is probably gonna deserve a statue outside of Providence Park, and that he's an absolute legend for the Timbers. There was a lot of worry the fact that he might have played his last game last season, but it seemed like the Timbers are working on a contract on him, and we shall see what kind of contract this will be. I mean, I'm hoping, I'm pretty sure a lot of Timbers fans are hoping it's not a DP contract, because I know even though Valeri is still performing as he gets older, he's gonna eventually start to slow down, and that's when you probably shouldn't be thinking about awarding a DP contract to a guy that is kind of slowing down. But we shall see what kind of contract this will be once the re-signing is officially confirmed. Real Salt Lake, RSL, they should be thankful because they still look good even when there were a ton of off-field distraction in him. So we talk about how there was a lot of off-field distraction in terms of the Mike Pecky situation, and that we've seen times before when clubs have these kind of off-field distraction, it could really derail the team. But not RSL. They continue to look good and probably even look better than when the Mike Pecky saga kind of took place, which was kind of interesting. But they're going to be very thankful the fact that they still look like a decent team and they still want to try to make the playoffs, which eventually they did. And they also, I think they also won a playoff game doing their postseason success. And yeah, I mean, I think overall it's been a very successful season for RSL, and that's it when they have those off-season distractions. The San Jose Earthquakes, obviously the most obvious thing the Quakes fans should be thankful is Mateus Almeida. I mean, he's literally a god that I'm pretty sure all Quakes fans are worshipping besides Wando. And, it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do in his 2nd year. And I know there's been some rumors about the fact that Alan Pulido could be rejoining and reuniting Mateus Almeida in San Jose, and that transfer could be happening. But I'm very interested to see what he can do in his 2nd year, and that, if he is going to get the players that he needed, and that if the front office allow him to spend some money and get the players that he needed, I think this team should be making the playoffs in this upcoming years. The Seattle Sounders, well, I don't really need to say a lot about what they should be thankful because they're MLS Cup champion. Like, anytime when you win MLS Cup and something that every team at the beginning of the season want to do, and it's their ultimate goal, the Sounders you know, when they achieve that ultimate goal, that is something that they're obviously going to be very thankful for. Sporting KC, they should be thankful because there is a new core coming into this team. So, you know, Sporting KC have started to kind of cut ties with some of their players from the old core, and that they're trying to build in a new core of players so that they can get back to their competitiveness that they've been for a long time under Peter Vermees. And I'm going to be interesting to see how this new core will work, and that I know Sporting KC might have to deal with a little bit of a rebuild, and that I know rebuild is always painful for fans to deal with, and especially to a fan base that have endured a lot of success, and that now they have to endure this rebuild to try to get back to that competitiveness. I think it's just something that they necessarily have to do, especially that they're in a transitional period of kind of dismantling the old core that they've been having for the last couple of years and bring these new batch of player into this team. And lastly, for the Whitecaps, in terms of what they should be thankful, is CFC Cincinnati. I mean, you know, I was going to say they should be thankful because they're still an MLS team, but I think that's just very harsh, and I don't want to offend the Whitecaps in terms of the fact that they should be happy, the fact that they exist in MLS. But, you know, the Whitecaps, I think they should be thankful because of the fact that, you know, they were like FC Cincinnati, had a very bad season, and that, you know, the rebuild that they were hoping to do really took a huge step back last season. And hopefully this season they're going to restart this rebuild again, and hopefully they get the right pieces to get this rebuild going and get this Whitecaps team to be a competitive team that they were a couple years ago. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time. And oh, by the way, if you're going to go to Black Friday shopping, which I don't think Black Friday shopping is really a thing anymore, especially the fact that shops actually open on Thursday now, and that actually open in about 2 hours, the time that I record this video. But, you know, if you're going to go to Black Friday shopping, stay safe. Try not to just fight over a cheap kind of TV over another customer. As, you know, we've seen before on Black Friday, it could be a very dangerous thing where people fight over product that has a huge amount of discount, or somebody get crushed by a crowd that wants to get into the building and want to get the best deal off of those Black Friday product. But just stay safe if you're gonna do some Black Friday shopping. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.